So here it is, the injured Giulietta. The clutch has gone on it. So it's a dual mass flywheel. Can't say it. A dual mass flywheel, which is gone. It's been going for a while, and this car's been sat here for a couple of months. Not needed it, but now I'm going to attempt to change the clutch on it, and you're coming with me.
'Cause I'm on mission like the 007.
No, it's not the coronavirus. Okay, so first things first, we need to get this car moving and get it onto the trailer and over to my mum's so I can work on the driveway. That's where all my tools are. These guys were great actually, they did such a good job. I found them on a website called Shipley, where you put up a job or what you want doing and people bid, and you sort of take either the cheapest price or best option. I'll put a link in the description of who they are. Ambulance as well. It's all happening. Here they're just making sure they're not marking the driveway. Not many people would be doing that. There it is. Okay. So this is where the car is going to rest. It's been here before, but this is where I'm going to be doing the clutch. So I can do this at my leisure now. Let's see how it goes. Okay, so first things first, we've just got to disconnect the battery. Then I'm actually going to I need to take the drive shafts off on both sides, so it's going to be easier to undo the bolts whilst it's on the floor, and then I'm going to start lifting up the car. But all this stuff needs to sort of move out the way, and then I've got to take the under tray out. Okay, so I've just taken the battery out, the battery box, moved all this out of the way. I've got to take out this sort of other sort of structure that held the battery box in. At the moment, I've just disconnected this. It's like a little squeeze. It's like a little squeeze thing that just pulls off. The same one here. I guess that's that's either the clutch. I don't know what any of these do, to be honest. I will tell you later. But yeah, I'm just trying to disconnect this at the moment. I'm trying to disconnect here, but that wouldn't work. Try and disconnect there. I think that's to the sort of the clutch thing just pushes it in and out. I don't know what the clutch thing is. I'll put it on screen what the real name of it is. Basically, I was able to take the slave cylinder connection off, which is here, which is this little bit here. You just slide off and then it comes off. Basically, what's inside is a dirtier version of that is in there. So that's what controls the clutch on the pressure plate, I guess. Anyway, let's continue. Okay, so I don't know if I can do that whilst here. These two bits here need to be pinched. I think this is part of the gear change. Ah, there you go. So I've just pinched them together and that's come off. So that's part of the gear change as well. I think this is part of the gear change too. So all of that needs to come off there. So that's come off. I have just taken one of the clutch pieces off here. Now it was cable tied. I wondered why it was cable tied, but it comes off. The other one, I don't know if you can see. Can you see there? There's a screw. So once I've taken that off, I can actually lift this up. Right. So now that one's off. So it was a screw. So now that's off. So now I've really got to start taking the wheels off, drive shafts off. Obviously this is the engine mount, so the engine will need a support on that when I eventually do it. I might have to take this plastic cover off so I can see what's going on. Okay, so now I'm just going to take see this, it's like an earthing strap, so it goes from the crash structure to the gearbox just down there, so I will disconnect that. There we go. And what I'll do is just put that bolt back in, just so it's there, and just leave that. I can actually bring that up. Just tuck that in, get that in out of the way. But I remember to put that in. Good thing about filming it, if I get stuck I can revert back to the film. Okay, so I'm going to take the wheel off it. So at the moment I've just sort of really jacked it up just to sort of inspect what's going on. Now I am going to undo this. So I will put the wheel back on, but I need to kind of undo this whilst it's down. So really this is just to inspect. But I think what I might do as well, I'm going to take this off. I've just got a few stubborn screws, take all that off, the surrounding off, so I can just see what's going on. It might just give me a little bit more room. A bit of a mind of its own, but that's going to make everything a little bit easier. That's a big old plastic bit. It's just held on by about 8 screws, which isn't too bad, but I think that's definitely maybe what the professionals would do. This might be able to just come out through here, so I've got to take that off. That's not a bad thing. I've actually got a lot more room. I can see what's going on now. So where we're at now, I've undone the drive shaft bolts on the outside, and I've jacked it up. the moment, safety obviously is a paramount. Got some axle stands, got the 2 jacks, and I've got a couple of ramps there. Well, the tyres aren't going to do anything, that's just to store out the way. But obviously safety is a thing, especially on the driveway. Okay, so this is a Torx size 30. So I've got to do all the way along here. Sun's in the way, which is nice to have the sun out for a change. So you've got one here and they're all the way along there, so I just need to undo all that. So that's now off. It's a bit damaged actually, it's a bit damaged around here. This is the underside now with the tray taken off. Obviously we can see more of the gearbox now and see all the bolts. I've got to drain the gearbox in a minute. You can see one of the mounts here that will have to be taken off. I'm hoping, and I don't think it is the case, but I hope it is, I don't have to take this off. If I do, then that's just the way it goes. We shall see. Next job is to take this out. So I've got 1, 2, 3 and one under this side, and I've got 2 there. Just taking this out so we can see the gearbox even more now. So there's nothing obstructing it there. Whew. So yeah, it's quite a big piece of metal there. I'm going to take the calipers off. So there's a hex 7 here and here. Take those off first. Then we'll take the brake mount off, and then I'm going to have to work out how this is. It looks like that's clamped, so I'm going to have to sort that out. Okay, so I've never taken the brake caliper off this one, so what I've done is now I've just tied it up here, cable tied it out the way. I disconnected the sensor there. First problem is this Torx. I haven't got one big enough. Weirdly, the one that I do have fits the engine mount, the gearbox mount and everything else, so why have they just done that? I mean, that's ridiculous. So I'm not sure what Torx this is, probably 17, but I found that I can actually use a 17 socket on there. Now I know some of you are probably shouting at the screen going, no, 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 don't do that, but you know, I'm just trying to make do, and I'm not buying a special tool if I can get away with it. Right, this is a little Allen key. What size is this? 5mm. So that's what's holding now the caliper off. Okay, a little bit of persuading, and it's off. So it was held on by this screw here. So that's the bearing. So, right, I've taken a tin shrouding off the wheel. Okay, where I'm at, stumbling block. So I need a hex 5 for that, a decent one. Not just my Allen keys, this is just not good enough. And it's the same with this drop down link here. I've managed to sort of loosen it, but I don't want to mess it up like I've done with this. I've used heat and everything. I know I've cut these off before actually with an angle grinder before, but I don't want to do it on this one. Some more tools for the job. 5mm sort of hex bits, Allen key 12mm to drain the gearbox oil, and some Torx spanners. The Allen key fits in just about. This is why I had to get it, because I couldn't put a socket in there unless I took this off, and I didn't want to take this off just to drain the oil. I'm sure they don't do that in the garage, they use this. So that's a 12mm Allen key, if anyone wants to know. So I've ordered this Allen key for to change the gearbox oil, but I'm gonna have to cut it down, only to fit it in. So I don't know how they do it at the garage. Maybe they make up a tool, but I've got to cut this back. If these out, cut it back. Look at that. Finally got it done. So you can tell, well, there is a magnet on the back of this sort of draining plug for the gearbox, which should sort of capture any sort of bits of metal, but actually it seems in good condition, no chunks, so that's good. I've got that off. Everything on here seems to be a bit of a battle at the moment. At least I don't have to buy another drop down link, I don't think, but that's one thing off here. Still got to get this here, it was spinning around there, so that's that to get off. So I've just pulled this bottom arm out, so now this should slide back, so you can see, there you go. So that's that done. I'm trying to hold it at the same time. That's one out. It was a little bit stubborn. Okay, bumper is off. Just had to, well, the bumper's held on by 4, I think it was Torx 55, and obviously same screws at the side. Now I've had to take the bumper off because I couldn't get to this bolt on this side. If I could have got to this bolt, then there would have been no need to take the front bumper off. Okay, so 3 bolts are off there, which I don't know why I didn't take the bumper off first, but I was trying to do things or cut corners, but I couldn't on this one. But there's a cheeky little bolt here that I've got to take off, and then you can tell that's wobbly now. So yeah, I've got to take that off too. Okay, so I've just taken the rear sort of gearbox mount here, which is a bit of an effort. I do have to take this tray off, so I've got to undo this. I think this is like the steering rack, but there's a torque bit up here, so I'm trying to get this one done under here. To get the driver's side drive shaft off, there are 3 Torx 14 bolts, 1 here and 2 at the bottom here. I've taken those off. There's a little lip, when you'll see in a minute, but what I had to do is just tap with a rubber hammer. Don't know if you can see there. Tap with a rubber hammer there, whilst sort of pushing this away a little bit from the sump, and it seems to have come loose. Oh, finally! It's a big long old bit. It's come out. Basically, what I was saying earlier is these locating bits here that I was having a problem with. Now you need to just sort of pull that away a little bit from the sump, and then give it a bit of a tap from this side, and the drive shaft comes out. So if anyone wants to know, there's the starter motor on the back of the engine. Now at the moment, you see I've undone one of the bolts there, the engine bolt, engine gearbox bolt, one there, one there, one there, and 2 at the top. Now I don't know at the moment, I'll see in a minute. There's one difficult one on the starter motor that I can't get off. I have just been having trouble. I've actually taken the starter motor bolts off. They're 13mm. They were absolute bugger to get, but I managed to get it off with this small sort of wrench. And there's 2 at the top. You won't be able to see that. There's one there and kind of one there, and one underneath. Hopefully now, I did buy another tool to try and get behind, but that didn't work. So, well, I've got that off now, so hopefully the gearbox should move freely. This is where we're at the moment. Obviously got a engine hoist, which is handy. I know not many people have got those, but what I've done is secured the here, and I've secured it by the sump just in case. I know it's not going to be the strongest place, so I can now wiggle the gearbox I've already taken the engine or gearbox mount, so you can see it wobbling just a little bit. But I'm going to see if this works. I've also decided to take the light out, but it just means that I can see what's going on, and I didn't want to lean over this bracket because it's only held by two. I think it's been broken before, so yeah, it actually looks like it's been in a crash already. Well, it actually has been in a crash a while back. Look at this, when it was done. Obviously before I bought it, no one replaced that, but oh well. Anyway, right, let's get on with taking the gearbox off. It is off. It's taken me a little bit longer than I thought, but it's a bit mucky. This is the slave clutch cylinder that I will be replacing, so I might just give everything inside a little bit of a clean as well before it all goes back together. Okay, so to be clear, there's one engine gearbox bolt there. Like I said, the three here for the starter motor that need to come off. There's another one here, you see that? There's another one here, which I think is the sort of engine gearbox mount to the subframe, to here. Then you've got this bolt here, and then last but not least another one here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 gearbox bolts plus 3 starter motor mount bolts, so you need to get those off. The clutch and clutch plate is off. Now there's a little bit of corrosion here, that's just been on the floor, but this is very, very thin. Yeah, so obviously you can tell the difference straight away. The thinness on that compared to that is just so different. Of course, brand spanking new in the bin. Same with this. Just it's worn in here a little bit, not too bad, but obviously the new part is spankingly new. So the flywheel itself is obviously just got a bit of movement in, and I don't think it should be doing that. You can see the wear marks here. That's all the rattling that was happening. So let's get this off and get a new one on. Right, so I have a problem. So the jaw mouse flywheel, this section I had to cut off because it was wearing all the bolts out, and as it was moving, and that's what the rattling was. I'm not sure really how it all works, but it's worn this bit down and I cannot get any purchase from this, so I'm going to try and weld my old sort of torque bit on that I ruined earlier. Weld that on. This is why I had to take all this off, because it worn all that down and I needed to get to it. So once that bolt comes off, then this can come off, but it's off. But as you can see, I had no choice. I had to just cut that bolt off. All the other bolts come off. So what I'm going to try and do, I've just squared the edges off this. Be very careful not to touch any of this. And I'm just going to try and turn it and get it off. But I had no option, but it was messy. That's what I did. But it had to come off. So there was no other option in my mind. So as you can see, clean holes, it's all off. That was what was showing. Basically that's what was showing. I carefully square cut the edge and then put this on it and then just try to shock it, and slowly it come undone. So woohoo! So I'm just giving the gearbox a little bit of a clean with white spirit. Kind of rude not to really whilst it's out. What I'm just going to do is give it a bit of a jet wash as well. I've blocked the ends here where the drive shafts go in, so no water to get in, but yeah. It's a little bit cleaner than it was, so it's got all the grease, grime, road stuff, clutch, anything like that. So now next job is to put this new baby on. So you can tell the bearing's gone on this, so it did need replacing as well. That would have made a noise. This is fairly simple to get off. All it did was just two 10mm bolts, and there was a little bit of force in just to pull it off. Right, let's put the new one on. So I put the new one in. That was fairly easy. I just had to slightly carefully sort of bend this so it sort of went better in the hole. That's where the hydraulics will come through, but that bearing is completely different than the old one, and that slides in and out like that. So what I've also done with this clutch sleigh cylinder, I've primed it. So I've taken it back off, compressed it, and then this pipe I've put in some brake fluid or clutch fluid, then actually release this. Now that means it's primed, but when I put it on the gearbox, this probably goes back a little bit and some will come out, but at least it will actually be primed. I'm not sure if the professionals do that, but that's what I think, or that's what I've done anyway. Whilst the gearbox is off, I've just decided to undo this. This is where you actually put the gearbox oil. So if anyone wants to know, this is actually the back of the car. So the front of the car is there, and this is the back of the car. So this is where the oil goes in. But I just thought while it's off, and me not having to struggle around, is just sort of loosen it a little bit. So now it's time to put the mass flywheel on. And if you look at the back here, there's a little locating pin here, and here, if you look, so you actually look here on the drive shaft itself, you can see the locating pin. So I will match that up. If you can see, I did actually wire brush around all the tinware just before I put the flywheel on. I also cleaned up around my sort of working space from the mess I'd made by cutting off the bolt head and part of the flywheel. So I bought myself a flywheel locking tool. I have to really to torque these bolts up properly, so these need to sort of stay still. I should have got it before, but I just clamped the flywheel in. But this was only $9.99 from Halfords. Hopefully it will do the job. So at the moment I'm finding it hard to find on the internet the torque settings, but I have found a chart, an Alfa chart, and it says here for the 2 litre ones 82 foot per pounds, is it? Which is what I've torqued it up to here. Now on some of it says 30, 33, but I've done 82. Someone's going to tell me I've probably done it wrong, but I think that higher is better. The lower just didn't seem to tighten it up that much, really, compared to how it was when I first took them off. Okay, so just in case anyone wanted to know which way around this goes, it actually says here gearbox side, so that's easy to know. So I've just torqued up the clutch plate to, I found something on the same chart, is it 18 foot per pounds? Maybe I'm saying that wrong, but I've just torqued those up, and remember they came off fairly easily when I took them off. So it seems about right, so I'm following that Alfa chart. Also to centralise the clutch inside, use this tool to just centralize it before I clamped it all down, which was, I think this is like a 14mm spark plug socket, so that fitted in nicely, made sure that was centered, and then bolted it all down. Okay, now it's time to put the gearbox in. So this is going to be fun manhandling this, but I'll have to put it onto the jack somehow and then just balance it and jack it up and then put it on. Okay, so I'm just using the engine hoist to lift the gearbox. The engine is chopped up in 2 places there, and I've got a jack under the gearbox to take pressure because I think this arm might come up too high, so it's just to put it in there so I can readjust that. Yeah, I'm getting it up to the point. I need to get it just past this bit, now I can support it better. Okay, so after a lot of struggling, it's come in Well, I knew it's gone in because this squirted out a little bit of the clutch fluid or brake fluid, meaning it's had contact, and also under here as well. So I'm going to try and tighten a few things up, get it a bit tighter, and then I can release the crane so I can get under there. So I've got 3 bolts on, 4 I think. I'm just putting the engine mounts back on, jack the engine up, and then I can take the chocks from underneath, and then I can get underneath to the rest of the screws then. Okay guys, well, the gearbox is in. It's getting dark now, so I'm going to pack up, but the chocks are away, and yeah, I'll have to come back obviously another day and start putting it all back together, but all the bolts are on now. Actually I've just got to put the starter motor back in, but the gearbox and engine is being supported by the engine mounts again, so that's good. Okay, so I just put a torch on it so you can see. So there's a 13mm bolt. I'm just putting the starter motor back in. I've located the 1 bolt there. It was a little bit tricky, but I had to actually refer back to my video to see which way round this was. So I'm just tightening. There's 2 wires coming in. It feeds into the top here, and I'm just tightening it up. And now I've got to get the 2, you just use a torch, don't know if you can see in there, I've just got to, now there's 2 other bolts. I think you can just see the top of the starter motor. I now just got to put the 2 bolts at the top and just put them in with the little tiny socket that I use to get them off. Right, okay, so I can't see if I can do this with one hand. This is a tricky bolt to get on, but I was able to get this over the nut just and tighten it up, so I didn't have to take the exhaust pipe off. So yeah, now I'm just doing this up. This is the last gearbox bolt to do up. Okay, so engine gearbox bolts all on, starter motors on, all torqued up. Now to get the driver's side drive shaft on. So it's basically everything in reverse. Okay, so drive shaft, the driver's side drive shaft moves nice and freely now, and nothing's obstructing that, and I'm just checking on the bolts as well and making sure everything's all present and correct in there. I'm also just going to put a little bit of grease on the end here, doesn't do any harm. Because whilst it's been standing, a little bit of, not surface rust or whatever, so I'm just going to put a little bit of grease in here. I'm just using an old chisel or my grease applicator. Get all that in there. Some on the end here as well. Just try and do everything bit by bit, check and double check everything you're doing. Should be okay. Just put a little bit of grease on the inside as well. It's messy stuff. Okay, that's all good. Cool. So I'm having problems with that drive shaft at the moment, but I did take that out before I did the subframe, so I'm just going to put the subframe in so that's just not flapping around everywhere. Okay, so I've just put the locating bolts there in that subframe, the other side, and the two large ones here. So you can see I've just dropped it a little bit so I can locate it. Okay, which is going in lovely. I greased it a little bit so it goes in nicely. Okay, so after a bit of faffing, I've actually got the passenger side drive shaft in. Now I've had to move what it was really. I had to move this a bit further over. This is why the bits of wood are in. And then I had to locate it centrally so it's within the splines, and then basically gently sort of tap it in, but it's got to be in squarely, and then it sort of really does go in eventually. So that's both drive shafts done. I couldn't film it really because it was a bit tricky. Right, so where we are at the moment, I've got the drive shaft in, the passenger side with the drive shaft nut. I've got the both sides drop down link has gone in. Thank goodness. I thought they were kind of a one time only, but they seem to go in once I've cleaned the thread. After cutting this one off, I do need to get a new bolt, and then I can put that on, which is the steering link. That's the last bit to go on. I think now what I'll start doing is I'm going to put the earthing strap and connect all this up that I can get to easily before I put all the plastic covering on. Okay, so on the earthing strap, this sort of wadding stuff had come off, so I just put another heat shrink sheath on it. Put it on with the heat gun, just so no metal is exposed. And then I'm just tightening this up. That should be it. Now I'll connect up the gearbox. Okay, so this little join goes actually onto the hydraulic clutch cylinder, basically there, and then it will join onto the pipe. Now this is like the bleed nipple. Apparently this sort of comes in and out when you're pressing the pedal up and down, but what I'm going to do at the moment, just give it a little bit of a clean. Okay, so you can see the old sort of clutch sleeve cylinder. And this is a clip that just pops up. This is the gearbox side, and this is the reservoir side, and it basically slots into there all the way in. I don't know if I can do this without. So it slots all the way in as far as it can go, and then you press this down to hold it in place. And I think it's pretty much similar to the other one as well, where it pushes in there and then there's a clip here, it clips on. And I think when you, from what I've seen or what I've heard, when you bleed the clutch, you have to release this clip, pull this out a little bit. So I've got a bottle just cable tied to the edge here, and a pipe coming off this bleed nipple. And then now I'm just gonna try and do it, release it a bit. Right, down. You see that? That goes straight in. Up. Down. Up. So that's the driver's side now done. All the electronics are collected up. All the brake shoes are on. Oh yeah, and I've got to put this on. This will go around. This is a bit of a pain, but I've got to get this on. At the moment, I had to rig up something to put the gearbox fluid in, because it's right at the back here. I don't have really the proper tool, but I did have this spout from something else, so I put that on and then just put a bit of pipe, shrunk a bit of pipe. Now it is going down, it's going down slowly, you can see here, so that's good. This takes apparently 1.9 litres and I've got 2 litres here, so okay, so I've always had problems with this wing. Now when I bought it, obviously I had a tiny little bit of a crash, but I think when it was sort of put back, the spacings in here weren't very good. So there's a bolt in there, there's one at the top, I think you can just see it in there, and there's one at the bottom if you open the door. This one here, 2 here, as you can see it's moved, and then that one there. So hopefully the spacing is going to be a lot better. I've just put this sort of battery box platform here, and I'm just about to tidy up the electrics. One thing that's been baffling me is this plug here. Now, if anyone can tell me what this is, I really don't know. I think when I took the bumper off it was just there. I can't remember taking it off. Maybe it's for the parking sensors or something, but I think it was just from the pictures it was just nestling down there, but I don't know where it was going. So yeah, I am just going to put all these electrics back, charge the battery, let's see how it goes. That's the battery, the electrics all in together. I'm just about to connect it and start it. So here goes to see if anything comes into action. And we just see how it goes. Right, lights are on. Make sure it's all in neutral. I mean, it's on the ramps anyway, but let's see. There we go. Engine lights on. I don't know why, but that may be because I've just been taking stuff apart. Hill holder unavailable. Well, we'll see all that. I can turn all those lights off, but it started straight away. Let's see if I can put it into gear. That clutch works. Now I'm just going to, or I've just cleaned the plastic while it's out. I've just cleaned the sort of plastic wheel or arch liner. Actually, I've just cleaned a little bit down here because this had a bit of mud down there, so that will help while it's all off. Okay, so it is off the ramps and it's going. I managed to turn the engine light off, but I got it off the driveway. That is finally done.